Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And, you know, I've got to say, well, I don't actually have to say anything, but if I didn't say things, then, you know, this would kind of be boring. You'd just be sitting here listening to like 30 minutes of nothing. And, well, that's not really a podcast, is it? Although I guess there could be the Nothing podcast that has a brief intro and then nothing and then the outro. It would be rather confusing. But no, well, what I was going to say is that, and I've said it often, this show is kind of my therapy in a lot of ways. And recently, I've not been sleeping that well. And one of the side effects of poor sleep is you wind up lacking motivation. Which means that, yeah, because this is kind of my therapy, I'm going to talk about signs that you might actually be sleep deprived yourself or just not be getting the amount of sleep that you need, and ways to overcome a lack of motivation. Isn't it interesting how I tie all of these things in with my life? Yes, it is, because, as I said, this is therapy for me. So, article from health.com about signs that you are actually sleep deprived. Again, you might wind up thinking, and I'm jumping a few sentences into the article here, you might think that your 5-hour-a-night sleep habit is nothing to worry about. But chronic sleep deprivation has been tied to increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and depression. And they have 11 signs here that you might be sleep deprived. Some of these I've been dealing with recently. Number one, you're always hungry. Chris Winters, who is a doctor and the owner of Charlottesville Neurology and Sleep Medicine in Virginia, says if the brain is not getting the energy it needs from sleep, it will often try to get it from food. Running low on rest can increase the production of ghrelin. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. There's a G and an H at the beginning before the R. And I know sometimes the GH is pronounced a G sound. Sometimes it's an F. Sometimes it's like it's not there at all. So I'm just going to go with ghrelin because that sounds funny. Also known as the hunger hormone. Too much ghrelin makes your body crave fatty, sugary foods. Dr. Winter says poor sleep can also mess with leptin, the satiety. I totally butchered that. The satiety hormone. When you're not sleeping properly, you tend to eat more of what you're craving because you're not feeling the signals to stop eating. And because you're eating all the time, surprise, surprise, you also gain weight. With an increased appetite comes an unpleasant symptom of sleep deprivation, weight gain. Dr. Winter says when you're tired, you don't watch what you're eating. You just look for all kinds of things to help you feel more awake. With ghrelin and leptin already out of whack, your body will crave fried foods and sweets to get you through the day. A surefire way to widen your waistline. A lack of sleep can also have direct effects on your metabolism. Dr. Winter says it tends to slow down without proper rest. What's more, a 2012 study in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that just 4.5 hours of sleep for 4 days straight can reduce your fat cells' ability to respond to insulin, the hormone responsible for regulating energy, and that reduction, 30%. Now, I'm going to pause here before continuing with the other signs that you might be sleep deprived, and I'm going to take a look at, I've got a fitness tracker here that is supposed to wind up, based on body movement, stuff of that sort, determine how much sleep I got. And it shows me that last night I slept for 5 hours and 4 minutes. Yeah, that's not good. And I know for a fact that that was not consecutive, because I did wake up a couple of times that I'm aware of. And, there's probably, a time or two that I woke up that I wasn't aware that I woke up. Or it could have just been where I was asleep, and I'm using air quotes there, asleep, but just being all kinds of restless. And so then, the fitness thing was like, oh, you're moving, so that means not asleep. And I know that these aren't the best indicators of how much sleep you got or how well you slept, anything of that sort. Yes, listen to your body, but it certainly does help to sort of corroborate what I was thinking of. Yeah, I've not been sleeping that good. Continuing on, other signs that you, dear listener, might be sleep deprived. You're more impulsive. Dr. Gail Saltz said, who is a contributing psychology editor to Health Magazine, says people tend to act without thinking when they're exhausted. Your ability to say, no, I shouldn't have that candy bar, becomes more difficult. This doesn't just apply to food. You might also find yourself doing or saying things you don't necessarily mean, like lashing out at a spouse or a coworker. The main thing is you're less inhibited. Stay tuned. I'll tell you more about what happens when you're sleep deprived, plus ways to get motivated. Stay tuned. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? Will anybody care? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I'll get back into the article about what happens when you're sleep deprived, 11 warning signs, if you will. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about something that is really a better form of cryptocurrency. You've heard about, and if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you have heard about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And some cryptocurrencies have some problems and some shortcomings. But what if there was a cryptocurrency that actually focused on users and usability? I'm talking about Zencash. Zencash is the world's first private, distributed, and reliable platform for communications, transactions, and publishing. Zencash has the ability to use both transparent and shielded transactions, with shielded transactions using zero-knowledge proofs. That means that only the sender and the receiver are aware of what is in that transaction. Zencash features global governance with inclusive decision-making, reliable funding for continuous improvements, and their documentation and wallets are available in many languages on a variety of platforms, not just Windows. We're talking a GUI wallet for an Android device, Linux, Mac, and of course, that Windows device that I did mention. Learn more at zensystem.io. That's zensystem.io. Jumping back into the article here about the warning signs, and I realize warning sign might not be the best term, but signs that you might be sleep deprived, you're always hungry, you've gained some weight, and you're more impulsive. Your memory, it's also shot. Can't remember what movie you saw last weekend or where you parked your car or put your car keys again. Before you panic about having a serious memory problem, know that your brain is probably fine. The aforementioned Dr. Winters says, when you're tired, you're usually not paying a whole lot of attention to what's going on when you're trying to make a memory. Still, getting decent sleep is crucial for brain health in the long term. Researchers from the National Institutes of Health showed that in mice, and yes, I realize humans aren't mice, but the studies on mice found that sleep helps clear toxic molecules from the brain. So not getting enough sleep regularly could impair your brain's ability to keep the nervous system clear. Sign number 5, you're having trouble making decisions. And this kind of ties in. You might think, well, this is kind of opposite of you're impulsive, isn't it? Because impulse just means you make all kinds of decisions. Yeah, but you're not actually thoroughly thinking out your decisions. You're just, ooh, this sounds fun. Ooh, this sounds fun. Ooh, this sounds fun. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Squirrel. You're just acting. You're not thinking about the decisions. You're using that what some people would refer to as the lizard brain. And yeah, I don't want to get into the whole weird conspiracy of, like why they call it a lizard brain or whatever. But it's the whole thing of where you're just reacting. You're not thinking about things. Kind of like how animals, generally, they just have instincts. They don't logic. And yes, I just used logic as a verb. Continuing on, trouble making decisions. If you've been finding it harder than usual to manage projects at work or home, lack of sleep could be the culprit. Someone named Baron, who I don't recall having seen the name earlier in the article. I'm not seeing the name Baron anywhere in this article prior to this mention, but someone named Baron says sleep deprivation can affect speed and higher level cognitive processing. That means essential functions like problem solving or time management become even more difficult to carry out. There was a 2009 study in sleep where researchers asked both sleep-deprived and well-rested volunteers to perform a series of tasks that required quick decision-making. They did this 2 times. Between testing, the accuracy of those without quality sleep went down 2.4%, while the rested group improved their accuracy by 4.3%. So you combine the 4.3% increase to the 2.4% decrease, and you wind up having a 6.7% better performance when you get quality sleep, which that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it winds up adding up, especially if you do like compound fractions, and I realize that's not a fraction, but the compounding of percentages and whatnot, it does wind up adding up to be pretty significant in the long run. Continuing on, all in all, people with poor sleep have a hindered ability to react quickly, which also means that your motor skills are going to be off. Yes, tripping over a step might make you a klutz, but do it a few times in a day and it might just mean you're too tired to really focus on what you're doing. Dr. Winter says when you're tired, there's a lapse in how you neurologically function in general. With lowered reaction time and concentration also comes more difficulty with movement. When you walk up and down stairs, there's a lot of processing going on. When you're sleep deprived, you can't process particularly well. And let's just talk about walking up and down a set of stairs. You might think it's very easy to lift foot, move foot, put foot down, lift foot, move foot, put foot down. And as far as what you're, consciously doing, yeah, that's it. But your brain also has to figure out the balance and hold the guardrail, move, all kinds of things. So there's a lot going on walking up or down stairs. So, yeah, it's going to be easy when your motor skills are off to wind up falling on some stairs or on a flat surface. Stay tuned.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs, with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to ZOG.Ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, ZOG.Ninja, code FPP.
Hey, this is Scott from the ANCAP Barbershop, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. We're talking about signs that you might be sleep deprived. There are 11 of them. We're on number 7. Not going to recap right now, but I will mention that the link to the article will be in the show notes. You can go back, read it at your leisure if you so choose. Number 7 on the list here, your emotions are all over the place. You might feel like your emotions are out of control when you're sleep deprived. Barron, again, I don't know who Barron is. This person is mentioned a couple of times in the article, but I'm not seeing. Somehow I missed the first reference here to Dr. Kelly Barron, assistant professor of neurology at Northwestern University in Chicago. Dr. Barron says you become overreactive to emotional stimuli. So things that normally haven't gotten you worked up in the past, a tear-jerking movie or a big work deadline, may provoke anxiety, sadness, or anger. It could also go the opposite way. Dr. Barron says people can get slap-happy and giddy as well. The next sign that you might be sleep-deprived, you get sick more often. And yes, they're talking about here chronic long-term sleep deprivation, not just I didn't get enough sleep last night or for the last week. They're talking about long term. Another thing that can suffer is your immune system. Dr. Winter says if you're not sleeping properly, there can be significant issues in terms of your body's ability to fight infection. In particular, you might find it harder to shake a cold. There was a 2009 study in Archives of Internal Medicine that followed the sleeping habits of 153 volunteers for 2 weeks. Researchers found that people who got less than 7 hours of sleep per night were nearly 3 times as likely to develop a cold than those who got 8 or more hours of sleep per night. That could be because your immune system produces cytokines. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sure somebody will let me know. Cytokines, cytokines, whatever. Some kind of thing, which is a protein that helps protect against infection and inflammation. Meaning a few nights of poor sleep could lower your body's defenses against pesky viruses. You might also have trouble seeing. No, we're not talking about having trouble creating a vision of this is where I want to be in 5 years. No. You might actually have trouble seeing. Steve Schembaum, who's an ophthalmologist in Berkeley, Michigan, says when fatigued, you're not able to control the muscles of the eyes very well. First, skimping on shut-eye tires out the ciliary muscle, which helps your eyes focus. The result? You'll have a harder time reading up close, according to Dr. Schembaum. Then there's the extraocular muscle, which moves the eye from side to side and up and down. I'm going to pause here to say you may have recognized some of the movements of the eye that they mentioned, the left, right, side to side sort of thing. What happens when somebody winds up getting pulled over on suspicion of driving drunk? They get the roadside Olympic thing, and the cop guy says, all right, now look at my finger, follow my finger. Yeah, if you're having trouble seeing, whether it's because you're sleep deprived or your motor skills are otherwise impaired, you're going to have a hard time following that left, right, side to side without moving your head. Dr. Schembaum says many people have a muscle imbalance where their eyes don't track well together, but in a well-rested person, the eyes can compensate on their own. A lack of sleep makes the misalignment harder to control, potentially resulting in double vision. You might notice both of these vision problems after one night of poor sleep, but they will persist the less time you spend in bed. Moving on to number 10 on the list here of 11 signs you're sleep deprived. Your skin isn't looking so good. They call it beauty sleep for a reason. There was a 2013 clinical trial conducted at the University Hospital's Case Medical Center in Cleveland that found that skin recovery was 30% higher in those who had good quality sleep versus those with poor sleep. And skipping down to number 11, signs, again, that you might be sleep deprived. You think you may have fallen asleep at the wheel. When you nod off for a few seconds without even knowing it, it's called microsleep. Dr. Winters says the brain says, I don't care what you want to do. We're going to sleep now. It's your body's way of forcing you to get the rest you need. The big problem is that microsleep can be extremely dangerous if you happen to be driving. A study between 2005 and 2009 by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimated that between 2.2 to 2.6% of total fatal crashes, not just, between 2 to 2.6% of all crashes, but those with fatalities involved drowsy driving. If you feel overly sleepy on the road, pull over and take a rest. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio online at fppradio.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. You know, I always think that I'll get through these articles faster than I do, and I never wind up getting through them as fast as I think I will. So, might not be able to jump into the article here about the motivation, ways to overcome the loss of motivation, but I will bookmark this and get into it at some point, hopefully in the near future. Now, I want to make sure that I let you know about a website that you can use to find things that you can purchase with cryptocurrency. You heard me mention earlier Zencash, which is an amazing crypto. Again, it has a focus on users and usability, but maybe you want to actually, use your crypto, and maybe you don't yet have some Zencash. That's fine. I'll forgive you, ... for now, but maybe you've got some Bitcoin, you've got some Dash, you've got some Litecoin, and you want to know where you can use that. Well, you're in luck, because there is a website that's a search engine for things you can buy with cryptocurrency. I'm talking about Spend-A-Bit. Spend-A-Bit has aggregated millions of products from thousands of cryptocurrency-enabled merchants. So keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spend-a-bit, all one word, spendabit.fppradio.com. And maybe you're a merchant that accepts cryptocurrencies, and you want to wind up reaching even more customers. Well, they have something called a merchant suite that allows you to get your products added to their search engine. Reach out. Ask about that merchant suite. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spendabit, all one word, spendabit.fppradio.com. And looking at the time, I'm not going to be able to get into the article about motivation, but again, the link to the article from Health about the sleep deprivation will be in the show notes. You can read it at your leisure. And don't forget, every Friday, yes, every single Friday, I answer your questions. They can be about anything. That's why it's called an Ask Me Anything. Send those questions. ama.fppradio.com. That's ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.